Single valve station decoder. Let's begin by discussing the single station decoder, which is by far the most common decoder that you'll use on your WeatherTrack H2O2 wire system, because every station or zone or valve that you have on your system will need to be accounted for by a decoder. So the single station decoder is designed to handle one valve, and the decoder will be wired in between the two-wire path and the valve in the field to handle all of the operation of that valve on the two-wire system. It's important to note that two-wire decoders are proprietary, so the decoders match up to the control system that they're using. This is important because if you are replacing an existing system with a WeatherTrack H2O2 wire, you also have to replace all of the existing decoders from the previous system. Because on any two-wire system that you're using, the controller is only capable of managing its own type of decoders. So when we're installing a WeatherTrack controller, we also need to install WeatherTrack decoders on every station. It's also nice to know that the single station decoders can be ordered pre-programmed with the station numbers already on the decoder, to save the installer time in the field of programming each decoder on the day they install. Let's start by discussing the single station decoder, part number WT2W-H2O-1VD. Notice all the fancy labeling on the bag. When we flip it over, the back of the bag is where we've printed the installation instructions. This is the process you'll go through when you're in the field to physically install the decoder on the two-wire path and on the valve. So we're not going to go through the process of physically installing the decoder today, but you see the installation instructions on the bag and the wiring diagram, as well as the warning there on the bottom that says always use the right wire nuts. So don't throw away the bag. You dump out the bag and you'll see that we've got the decoder and all of the proper wiring connections. So we set these aside for when we're done. And then we have our single station decoder with the red and the black wires that go to the two-wire path and the white and orange wires that will go to the station valve. To assign a single valve decoder to a station, we plug the decoder into the terminal located on the mini chassis board. Look on the terminal board for the block labeled station program, and you'll see on the board where the red and the black wires go. So we start by plugging the red and black wires into the terminal located on the mini chassis. Then we hit setup and forward arrow until we get to setup 15, which is a screen called configure H2O2 wire. And here you'll hit plus until the screen reads program decoders. Then you'll hit select. Then you'll hit star. Then when you hit the star button, the controller reads the decoder, so you'll want to press the plus or minus button to make sure you assign it to the right station. So hit the plus button until you get to the station that you want to assign to this decoder, and then hit the star button. The next question asks if you want to change the power level for the decoder. For most stations, I leave that on low unless I know I have a high current valve. And then I press the star button to configure the decoder. And that's when the screen will read programming successful. And the little orange that you see on the screen there indicates the decoder wire color that's associated with that valve. So the orange wire is associated with that station. This becomes important when we have dual decoders, or a decoder where we need to differentiate which hot wire goes to which valve. And then we label the decoder and unplug it from the station program terminal. A couple of pro tips and tricks for the single station decoder. The first of which is that labeling your decoders is key. So remember to immediately and clearly label your decoders, because we want to avoid duplicate decoders with the same address on the system. So we want to make sure that no two decoders have the same address, because this will create a conflict that takes time to troubleshoot down the line. And don't forget, it's always important to properly document where the decoders are, because this will minimize troubleshooting in the future. In fact, you should download the WeatherTrack 2-wire installation guide, where we walk you through the installation step by step, including a very handy worksheet that we provide to document each decoder, its serial number, and other vital information. So please use this worksheet to help keep track of your decoders.